Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are playing Planet Zoo. I absolutely love Planet Zoo because it is a gorgeous game. The aesthetics are beautiful and there are many animals. What are we gonna do today? Today we are gonna create the entrance of our zoo a little bit. I already played around yesterday just for a tiny bit. I built some staff buildings. And moreover, we will create our first habitats, have some European nice animals in there, and create some guest facilities like toilets, restaurants. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, so we are here in Planet Zoo. The game looks gorgeous. It has just became morning, I think. As I said, I have played around with the building materials a little bit of the European expansion pack, tried to create some aesthetics. It did not work exactly as I intended, but it looks nice nevertheless. I love the lighting here. They added that this type of lighting too. But as you can see, the rest of our zoo is just a barren wasteland. We only have the staff facilities as of now and a beautiful fountain. I worked on that, hey. And yeah, let's dive into it. Let's pause the game now, because we already spent most of our money and we don't even have any animals. In this game you are meant to make a beautiful zoo up to your likings and manage it as you grow and grow and grow. We are gonna build our first habitat for an animal. I'm not sure which one yet, but we will find out a little bit later. Let's make it smaller a little bit, okay. So once this habitat is done, we can go to our animal trading and we can start trading for animals. This doesn't work. This game has an enormous focus on rehabilitating animals, meaning that you get 2 animals here, you breed them, and once they're young or grown up, you can release them to the wild and get nature points, as you can see here. And those you can use to buy more exotic animals like lions, elephants, crocodiles, albino animals, special animals. Okay, so now we have our habitat. The only problem is obviously it is not accessible yet, so let us make a little gate here. We have staff areas here, so let's make it as close as possible to that area. Okay, yeah, that should be perfect. Okay, now let us only select this part and make that a one-way glass. So our animals can look outside and they don't get stressed too much, whereas the humans can just fully look on inside, and it's like an interrogation room, you know. They try to get a good overview of the animals without them getting too stressed. It's very important because otherwise they will just keep on nagging about that throughout the whole game. Believe me, they will not stop about it. They will not stop. Okay. We have our habitat. I think it's nicely shaped, it's nicely sized. Maybe we should still... Nah, it's fine. It's fine for now. Okay. So let us go into animal trading and see what kind of animal we would like. Okay, so since the European DLC just came out, I wanted to start off with some European DLC animals. And I'm gonna start off with nothing other than the European badger. You might wonder why not start with a tiger and get the big papers already from the people coming in, but that is very easy. It will not be sustainable to grow my zoo if I already have such big animals, but my zoo is basically nothing. So you need to have sustainable growth. You need to start small with some smaller animals and then grow and eventually get some big attractions like bears and tigers and lions. But up until that point, you cannot sustain yourself simply through the bills. Okay, so I checked out badgers on the Zoopedia right here. They can live up in groups up to 7 people. So I'm just gonna get 2 males and 2 females in the animal training segment, and then they can breed, and based on that I can release others to the wild and keep on breeding, basically. So you want to check out basically what I think is the most important parts are their longevity, their fertility, and their immunity. longevity is basically how long it will live, the fertility is how fertile they are, aka the baby machine, and immunity basically means how immune they are to diseases and how prone they are to getting them. So the fun part about this game is you actually can buy them from other players. And here you can see this is from the Bernie Zoo, this is from Francesca, this is from this is from Zoo 1, another one from 1. And so you can basically, if I sell my animals for these nature points, other people are actually buying these animals to use in their zoos. Let us check it out. For fertility is very low on these two females. I cannot even afford that one, so I think we're stuck with the first two, which are not amazing, but they're okay. So let us adopt these two. And then we need 2 more males. This looks like a nice one. Actually, these two are great. They'll do. It's just to start our zoo off. If we now go to animal storage, are there still some other animals from previous zoos in there? We will not be using those. We go to our European badgers and we send them to the zoo. Now it is crucial you do not place it in the habitat right off the bat. You need to place them in quarantine first. It hits close to home, doesn't it? So we send them off to quarantine. From which point onwards I should probably be hiring staff. I'm a staffless zoo. Okay. Wow. Okay, so if we go into our zoo overview here, we have the staff tab here. If we click on that, we can see indeed we have no staff members whatsoever. And I think staff members are kind of crucial when you want to run a zoo. So what are we gonna do? We are gonna get ourselves a keeper. We're gonna get ourselves 1 caretaker. We're gonna get ourselves 1 mechanic. So the mechanic not only maintains buildings, but they also maintain barriers and such. Whereas the caretaker only takes care of the animals. We do not really need a security guard yet. I'd rather save some of my precious money. We don't need a vendor yet, they come with the stands as you buy them. We do need a veterinarian, that is very important. And we do not need an educator yet. This game also has a very strong focus on education, it's quite a fun aspect. If we look over here, you can see the guest education rating. The more I educate my guests about the animals in their habitats, the more nature preservation points I get, which are the points which allow you to buy animals online, and basically earn them in a passive way throughout my game. It's a fun mechanic to have a passive income of these things. So, these 4 champions floating high in the sky like the superhuman beings that they are will start managing my zoo. So as I mentioned before, I have their little staff areas here. I think this is the animal trading center, that's where the animals will come. Now if you see here, my caretaker will start running towards here and he will probably start grabbing the animals. You see, they're in there. Now it doesn't matter what size the animal is, whether it's an elephant or not, it goes in that tiny little box. So in it goes into the quarantine, which is right next to it. That is big brain moves there, and definitely not a coincidence that it just happened to be there. Okay, while they are in quarantine, let us quickly edit their habitat a little bit. Like, I don't know what they want yet, but what I am quite sure that every animal would like is a little area in which they could swim. So we're going into the terrain tool here, which is a fairly easy tool to use. And we're gonna create a little pond for them. We're gonna use some calm water. I think that's quite nice. Okay, so they're still just chilling and loafing around, meaning they're still in quarantine. We will see a pop-up message once it is ready. In the meanwhile, what we could be doing is speed up the game, because we don't really have anything else to do yet. As we can see here, the quarantine has passed. And Bernie, James, and Sam are all ready to go to their habitats. Nice and happily, let's move them. Select the habitat 8. Send them right there. And if I am not mistaken, they'll start running for their lives. Run. That's my badger right there. Are you careful? Please be careful with my new animals. They're the only ones. Oh my god, she threw it in the air. And she threw it in the air. Okay. So far for safety. I thought you were a veterinarian. They throw animals? Okay, boom. Confetti. I'm sure that is great for the habitat. And now if we click on our little badger right here, we have this little tab which tells us how it's doing, how well the enrichment is, what its habitat is like. So let us first pause the game a little bit and go to the terrain tab here. We can see that it lacks a hard shelter. It has more than enough available navigable. It has more than enough open space to run around in, but it has way too much long grass. First, let us create a some more short grass for these little badgers. So if we just select it in here, in this little menu, it will already bring us to that type of terrain. So as you can see, the long grass goes away, and in here you see the short grass drop, whereas the long grass is growing. Okay. Though they would also like some soil. I like to always have some soil around the water, because honestly, it makes sense that there will be some soil around the water. They don't really like sand, nor do they like rock, which is fine. I'm not gonna put that in there then. So I'll just place a little bit more soil over there, a little bit over here, just to make it a little bit more realistic. Right now it does look a little bit weird, but it will blend in all together once it's done. So as you can see, they are happy and satisfied with these needs of the terrain. They're still lacking hard shelter, but we'll do that in a bit. So now we go to the next tab, which is the environment. As you can see, the plants are appropriate for them in this habitat, but there are no plants. So they would like some coverage. As you see, we have 0%, and they would like, I think that's 25 up till a maximum of 100. So they like a very foresty area. Now be aware when you create your habitat, because you can make it beautiful and as foresty as you like, but the guests won't be able to see the animals. And you would actually have constant complaints from the guests that they simply can't see the animals. So what you want to do is you want to find that golden ratio in which you basically have a nice habitat to look at, which has enough coverage for the animal, but also has enough view for the guests to still be able to see the animals and be happy about that. If you do not give the animal enough coverage, it will constantly get stressed, as you can see here, stress, because it will try to search for some coverage, but it can't find it because it is simply too crowded, or there is people everywhere. So let us go to environments. We need more coverage. If we click Europe, it will automatically bring us to the nature tab, and we can click the temperate biome, taiga and grassland for the filters we're already going to use. And now basically everything that we find in here is a good selection for the badger? European badger. So let's create a little bit of some habitat enrichment here. I would like to have some reeds along the water for some coverage. Maybe some water lilies. The problem I always have with water lilies, if you place them here and I move them up, they're completely like on a wrong angle. So what I always do is I place them on the ground, I select them, then I press X to move the axis around. I make them float over the water, go in the middle, drop it just a smidge, and boom. Now it is nicely lying on the water, and you don't have to reposition the lily pads and such, which is an absolute nightmare to keep doing every time. So in this way, you might be able to save some time. Now let us place some flowers over here. It also depends, it really depends on how much coverage it gives the habitat. A big tree, like a birch tree like this, would give it a lot of coverage. Let's place that right around there. Beautiful. So you can still look properly into the habitats from both ways, but the animals do get a lot of coverage. It just jumped up to 31% from, I think it was 2%. So if we give it a few more trees, it will be very happy. But let us try and give it some coverage here too, which is looking nice. That's that looks a little bit weird, honestly. Let us move it a tiny bit forward. Yeah, like that. That's beautiful. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Let's not defy the laws of nature here. Okay. If we go to the little animals here right now, we can look into their environments. That's also okay. Let's go into nature. It actually did save all our filters, so you can close it whenever you like and reopen it, and just go on where you already were. Here we have some nice coverage for the ground. I always like to place these around some trees because it looks rather nice and somewhat more, I don't know, I would see that happening in nature too. So let's give it like a nice corkscrewed tree. Yeah, that's nice, that's nice. And as you can see, it already starts really to shape with only these two trees, some reed right there and some reed right there. I think that's reed at least, I don't matter. And it already really starts to shape. Now if you go to rocks, we can use some nice rocks in here, and I absolutely love the rock system. So this is quite the boulder. So you can create this nice smaller boulder by just dropping it into the ground a little bit. Now if we go back to nature, here is where the game truly shines, I think at least. We can drop this in here a bit too and create it in all weird ways. This is too big, this is too big. If we do it like this, let's say we place, we'll do it like this, place it a bit more like this, okay. Place you a bit like here, and in this way you can create like very naturally looking rock formations within your habitat. They don't have to be big, even though the boulders themselves are often relatively big. You can just create little small stacks of rocks by just doing this. Personally, I like it when you have a bigger habitat with more water in it. You can make beautiful little bridges for the animals to cross over by just using some big boulders on both sides of the river, placing a little rock plateau on it like this one, and having it suspended in mid-air. It looks amazing. The animals can just swim under it, or they can walk over that little bridge. It's a very nice mechanic. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. They nailed it very much. Okay, let us place a little bit more like this, I guess. Drop it a bit. That looks a bit weird, so we press X here, select it, press X, do it like that. Okay, that looks quite nice. And maybe the front a rock or two. Okay, oh, can't see what I'm selecting here. Okay, like that maybe. Press X. Oh, press X and move it a little bit like that. Okay, like that. And I'm quite satisfied with this. It looks relatively normal deformation. I'm just gonna place a little bit of nature elements around there, some bushes maybe some grass patches. That's too close to the other one, that looks silly. Is it a cowberry bush? No, crowberry bush. Okay, let's place a little crowberry bush here. That seems quite nice and almost natural. Oh, that's a very nice one with some. No. A dog rose bush could be placed. Yeah, let's say around there. Yeah, that seems nice. Okay. Then let us have some ivy spread around here on the walls. That always looks a little bit nice, though we already have that there. Let's place it around here then. Maybe a bit bigger. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, we rotate it around. You have somewhat of a different pattern every time, and it looks a little bit more natural. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Oh, that is not. Okay. So this is a problem you'll often have. If you build too close to. If I would select this, it builds off on the previous prop. So you really need to select the wall itself in order to build on it. Let's do that, like this and that. Let's rotate it around a little bit, get a different pattern. Okay, and I honestly think that looks decent enough. Let's place a little bit of this right there. And I think honestly that should be more than enough for a little friend. It has 40%. Okay, let's place in one more tree. One more tree. And olive. Ooh, that's a beautiful olive tree. But that's not. That's a tiny one. Yeah, I like this olive tree. I like this olive tree. Okay, so let's place that there. And I think that is enough coverage for them. So then we have Enrichment, which you can find in the Habitat tab. So in here you have basically all. You can specify for food and water, heaters and coolers, beds and shelters, and enrichment items. First, we're always going to start off with some food and water, because that is the most essential part for animals. We go into species at filters, just to narrow it down, because as you can see there are a lot of animals to be choosing from, and they all have different needs. So if you just go to the European Badger, you can select it and you see the required food bowls, water bowls, enrichment items, whatever. So we're going to place a large food bowl right there, and let us place a small trough right about there. And the idea being that the guests arriving here can still nicely look at having a drink right there, or have some food right there. If I would, for example, be in a desert area and I would choose to have some snow wolves, that wouldn't work because of the temperature and the whole surrounding and such. So what you would do is you would add some coolers to create a more cooler environment, and you would create some snow within your habitat. Luckily for us, that is not an issue, as we play in a temperate area already. So let's forget about that for now, and let's go to beds and shelters. This is a very important part. And one of the reasons that I chose for the European Badgers is because it has an animal burrow in it, which is a new feature that got added, which allows the animals to go into a burrow underground and seek shelter. So as you can see here, this whole area underneath it is actually the burrow of the animal, and I'm really interested to see whether we can actually enter it. So I was thinking of doing it around here. That seems like a nice place, honestly. I would not like to see that. I think like this. Okay. And as you can see, it is now sort of included within our stone structure, but animals can go inside of it. And maybe we can go underground? No, we cannot. Okay. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. If we click it, you see, there's a whole underground structure where they can hide and just burrow, I guess. But let's assume you do not have an animal which needs a burrow. We're just gonna But just to but let's assume you have an animal which doesn't need a burrow. So what you do is you go to Habitat, you go to the Beds and Shelters tab, and you select a small basic shelter, or you can create one yourself, but that's somewhat of that's a lot of work. So we are gonna grab ourselves a small one because we already have our basic shelter for them, and we're gonna place it right around here under this tree. And lastly, what our little badger would absolutely love is something to do. Otherwise it will get extremely bored, and if it gets bored, animal protesters will come. They will pay a ticket, but they will come and they will start protesting in front of the animal habitats. So let us place some enrichments. Let us place some blood scent markers right there, and maybe one right there. So this will allow the badgers to use their smell a little bit, check it out around them, whereas the bowl is a feeding enrichment. We have another feeder here, which we will place around here, I guess. Then we have a sprinkler, which is absolutely lovely. It's a sprinkler, and it's the animals love it. And then I see badgers like tennis balls, so let us place the tennis ball at the olive tree. Yeah, beautiful. So we press play, it will drop. Oh, the badger is so interested in it already. Look at it go, look at it go. So now that we clicked our badger, we will see that its welfare stats are all in the green. Nutrition is a little bit low, but that's because it hasn't eaten anything yet, so that makes sense. So Sam, the European badger, is well and content in his new habitat. Everything looks fine. Enrichment is amazing for him. We can look at its social and its stud book and its genetics, but for now I think it's all fine. Okay, so let us play the game along, and as you see, some park guests already come walking into the park. Now, the most important thing in Planet Zoo is that you have donation boxes. So let us pause the game, because donation boxes are your main source of income. Meaning, of course, people pay for their tickets and such, but people will donate money, and most of the time loads of money, based on how educated they are and how much they are entertained during their stay. So you should place some of these donation boxes at all viewpoints, otherwise you simply will go bankrupt and you cannot sustain your zoo. So I'll place 4 donation boxes right there. Okay, beautiful. So people will donate more when we get some facilities and such. We can even add a European food truck if we would like to, and let's do that because you need to satisfy your guests. Otherwise you simply will not make the revenue. So let's place this right there. Beautiful. Okay, and let us have the food truck. Let us exit that group. No, wacht. This is something new. This is something new. Okay, let's place it right there. Beautiful, beautiful. The Gulpy drink station. Okay, what guests also need is a little food station. And once you've played those, it is extremely important to also place a toilet down. So we will also do that very quickly. Place it down just like that. Now keep in mind, this is all customizable, and we will customize everything here eventually, but for now let's just keep it nice and simple. So the last thing you really would want to do is have some bins in here, because otherwise your park will overflow, with garbage, and that will which will end up in more complaints. So let us place some bins just around about everywhere. Oh, not that there, that's the wrong side of the fence. Right about there, and like about there. It's beautiful. And lastly, what you should do, and that's very, very important, is go to utilities. And we cannot afford that. Okay, so what we would like to do is we would like to get a water treatment center, because we have here we have like a little pond, but if we don't have a water treatment center close enough to it, the pond will get infected with diseases as it is not treated, and our badgers or animals will get sick. So we really need a water treatment center, meaning that Chief Beef will no longer be there. I'm sorry, Master Chief Beef. Doesn't matter, but we simply cannot use it because we need the water treatment center. Now, if you're thinking nice and smart, I will place it right here because that's nice and close to it. And as you can see, the area of coverage is within both ponds. Then you would be thinking wrong, because there is a negative impact on guests. That is why my guest facilities are all over there and the guest path is here. But water treatment centers, power generators, all those things, they have a large area, a large negative area of effect for the guest. So basically what we are going to do here is we are going to place it, if we place it right around here, the guests won't have a negative impact from it, and it will still fall within the range of the pond over there. Let's just quickly check whether that is true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Beautiful. Okay, now if we get another exhibit in this square right here, then the water treatment would also cover that one. Okay, I think that is... so let us check quickly with our badgers, and I should probably fire some of that staff because we do not need 4 of these guys for only... So I have fired 3 of our additional vending staffs as we only have 1 vending place. Okay, yeah, you're sad.
Fire!
No, okay. So I've fired these sad sack of losers. Fired! Look at them go. Sad. And we are low on cash, so maybe it's a good thing we fired them. And as you can see here, the guests already are starting to flock into our park, and the first thing they see is our beautiful badger habitat. Wow, it looks amazing. With only the little adjustments we've made, there is a lot more to do in there. We can make it so much more detailed. But for now, we will leave it here. Let us quickly make sure we can call staff here if we want to. So let us quickly call in the keeper. So the keeper will bring its food, it will make sure it has water and such. And once that happens, the animals will be completely happy again. One last thing I would like to advise you before leaving is to go to zoo and go to your vet research. If you click here, you can see that you can research all the animals. And we would like Merle Gill to research the European badger. If you don't do this, you will not research the badger, and you won't learn about its enrichment, and you won't get bonuses within educating your guests and, well, all those. Well, it's research. It's basically the same that works in every game. Well, guys, that is it. I think I will leave it here for today. We've made quite some progress. We've actually made our first habitat and our first guest facilities. As you can see, our drink truck is already getting quite busy. We might also have to get a food place once we get a little bit more money. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. I know I sure do. I love this game. It's so detailed. There's so much detail to put in here. You can make funny exhibits, you can make amazingly detailed exhibits. It's all very nice. There's also a transportation system in it. You can almost make roller coasters in here. Well, guys, this is a new game for me, but it's also a new format for me, as there is a camera pointed at me at all times, which is interesting and new. My friend helped me set up with that. Link in the description. I enjoy this game myself a lot. It is a beautiful game. It has a lot of charm to it. It has so much detail to get lost in. You can play it for hours and hours and still keep on creating and creating. If you also love this game and loved this content, please do consider leaving a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And that's it. I wish you all a great day.